Morgan, I think sometimes people got to learn lessons. The lesson is you don't talk shit to Jimmy Butler.
Don't poke the bear. The bear was poked.
And you can't talk shit if you're Grant Williams to Jimmy Butler. It's one thing if Butler is going head to head with Tatum, going back and forth. That's like the Hurricane trying to talk shit to the Rock.
Who's the Hurricane?
That's it. Who's the Hurricane? You can't do that, dude.
That's mean though, really quick, because Grant Williams, just being honest, Grant Williams, when he does shit like that and it works, he's the energy guy, right? He's the guy that's like, yeah, bring in that toughness. He's a dog. He's what you need. When it's to Jimmy Butler, you did something wrong. You didn't do it right.
Here we are, and I don't think anyone would have predicted this before the series, that Miami was going to have a 2-0 series lead.
Nope.
Headed back home for Game 3.
Nope.
And Jimmy Butler, after that, the Miami Heat closed. When Grant Williams started talking smack after hitting a 3, they closed on a 26-9 run. Jimmy Butler went off, said, I'll attack this guy. That's fine. I'm not scared of him. He's too small. I'm going to get in his behind.
There you go. Well, Grant Williams, it was working for a little bit too. Like, you think about how all these adjustments were being made because they're like, okay, we don't want Robert Williams to be switched on Jimmy Butler, right? Like that was probably a lot of it. We know Derek White was put into the rotation really quick. After the game started, he started the second half. These rotations were being made mostly because you didn't want to have anyone that you didn't want to have on Jimmy Butler.
I get it.
Grant Williams ended up being the guy that you didn't want to have on Jimmy Butler. And after they went on that run, Joe Mazzulla was like, get your ass on the bench.
And it was probably a little too late. Jimmy Butler, 27 points. He had 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 12 of 25 shooting. He didn't get to those 10 free throws tonight. He didn't have to. Miami wins Game 2, 111-105. And it was a wild game. It was a crazy game. But, I think my big takeaway here is this Miami Heat team will not get rattled.
Nope.
Even if they lose a game, it's not going to be because, they totally fell apart here. This team can handle runs, they can handle punches, and they are going to ramp it up. There was a portion in the fourth quarter they were getting carved up by that pick and roll action in the zone, and then they clamped down. The rotations were great. Boston starts getting nervous, and who was the team closing? It was Miami.
And before you go on to anything else, just a perfect example going off of what you said about this team not getting rattled. An undrafted guy, Gabe Vincent, terrible foul. Fouls Tatum on the 3-point line. Tatum goes to the free throw line, comes down on the other end. Terrible spacing by the Miami Heat. Gabe Vincent on the strong side with 4 other people over there. Dagger, midi.
Over
beautiful.
Tatum.
Yes. And the whole point is he did not get rattled. He did not let that last play get him down. And you see that happen. It doesn't matter if it's Caleb Martin, who had the biggest playoff game of his career with 25 points. And it's just a standard. It's just the way that they do things in Miami. And the fact that they all buy in like that, it just shows how special it can be in postseason games.
I'm convinced that Spoelstra can get me and you to just go out there and be competent out there.
Facts. I would be able to score 1 basket in an NBA game if Eric Spoelstra was coaching me. I would do it for Pat Riley.
They should hold summer camps for us to get in shape.
Yes. Hi, I'm on the Kyle Lowry diet plan. Can I join you guys? Weigh me every day and just have my ass running. Thank you.
Yeah, Gabe Vincent didn't get rattled. And there's a reason he's playing 40 minutes tonight is because he's going to go out there and he's going to play his ass off. He's not going to do too much. He's going to make the right play, and he's going to compete defensively. And he's done that in this series. He's done it for Miami. A guy, again, undrafted, G League guy who they found in Stockton, got him a 2-way deal, and here he is playing 40 minutes in the conference finals. Miami Heat. You talk about Caleb Martin tonight. Caleb Martin, he was their leading scorer at the half. He
14.
was keeping them in it. He was attacking. And another example, you mentioned the foul that Gabe Vincent had late, the 3-pointer, where it was a big-time foul. I mean,
Huge.
it cut the deficit, and all of a sudden it's a game again. He stayed in it. There's a sequence in this game where Martin took a really tough three. He had Rob Williams switch onto him. Great contest. Could not get it over. He thought it was deflected air ball. He came down.
Oh, yeah.
He came down, buried a three.
Yep.
Then he attacked, and he starts chirping again.
Yep.
They find guys that just compete nonstop that don't get rattled. If you do get rattled, you're not going to play. If you do make a ton of defensive mistakes or you're getting exposed, you're not playing. We have enough guys that will play.
Another example of a guy that compete and just came through. Bam Adebayo started this game super slow. I was like, no, this is what he's going to do for the Heat tonight.
Just inefficient a little bit. He was aggressive, but...
Yes, he stayed with it. And I mean, he definitely stayed with it because then he ended up finishing the game 22 points, 7 of 17, 8 for 8 from the free throw line, 17 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 assist shy from a triple-double. Truly, what he did, especially throughout the end of this game, was just be that other guy, other guy that we always say that Jimmy Butler needs, that he always needs Bam to be. Fantastic job by him as well.
Well, their 2 played better than Boston's 2 in closing time.
Yep.
And really in this game. But closing time, fourth quarter, Bam and Jimmy combined for 17. And you mentioned the fourth quarter, Morgan. Bam in the fourth quarter had 8 points. He had 8 rebounds. He had 4 assists. That was in the fourth quarter.
Come on.
Tatum and Brown combined for 8 points. And they had 3 turnovers in the fourth.
Oh.
So,
dude, and again,
17-8 advantage for their guys.
you saw there Tatum, I don't want to say he got rattled, but just costly turnovers. You saw when he was dribbling that
Jaylen
first,
Brown too.
Exactly. But the first possession down there was that one that Tatum dribbled it off Jimmy Butler's foot. It went back, so the shot clock is just winding down. But then the next possession, he had the same dribble where it was like he was going to split the defenders, kind of lost it, and then someone else picked it up, right? They get a steal, they go the other way. And then you talk about Brown, a huge, costly turnover. These mistakes at the end of the game, I feel like you're seeing more and more with these star Celtics players. They're still young, but they're experienced. They've been here before.
Yeah.
And they should know what they need to do. That's on them. That's not on Joe Mazzulla. That is on them.
Well, and it's also, they give credit to Miami's defense too.
Absolutely.
They smell blood in the water, and they're going to go get it. And that's what Jimmy Butler did with Grant Williams when he started talking shit. And that's what Miami did when it looked like it was starting to get tight for the Boston Celtics. And another fourth quarter where Tatum does not have a field goal attempt. He is not taking a field goal in the fourth quarter through the first 2 games. He has gone to the free throw line, combined 11 for 11 during that stretch. I'll say this. They did find something with Tatum. And what I like tonight, we were talking about this after game 1, is like Tatum needs to just have the ball in the fourth. And they initiated more with him. The pick and roll, they were destroying Miami on. They'd maybe fire it to the corner, and they'd find Rob Williams as a roller.
He's just such a threat. He's such a threat.
Yeah, the ball movement was outstanding.
Right.
And so he did some nice things even without taking a shot. But it was a late game execution again, and that's what we're talking about. These games are going to be tied. The Miami Heat will keep in this game because they compete. So you have to be perfect down the stretch.
Well, exactly, because like you said, they'll come at you and they'll rattle you. They will find ways to alter your game. And I think you talk about the way that Jason Tatum was playing there in the fourth when he was being aggressive, even if it wasn't him necessarily taking shots, it was him attacking. It was him making things happen so defenders had to collapse on him. Just making movement on the floor, being that big threat, like you were saying, it makes a huge difference with this Celtics offense. But when guys aren't hitting shots too, I mean, you look at a guy like Al Horford, 0 for 3 from three-point land. That's a guy you shove there in the corner, and he's usually knocking down a big corner 3 for you late in a game. Derek White, same thing. I know he had A few big threes in this one. He ended with 3 for 5 from beyond the arc. 11 points for him in his 23 minutes. But that's another guy that you need to get hot and get going and find open shots for. And it just felt like nobody wanted to be that super aggressive role player on the Celtics tonight too.
And you say that, but Jaylen Brown is the other guy. The guy was 7 of 23 tonight. He finished with 16 points. And in this series, Caleb Martin has outscored him. Not by much, but he's outscored him. And I don't think anyone would have predicted that before the series. So he wasn't very good tonight.
Marcus Smart
finished with 7. And that was another guy who had been putting up some big scoring outings. Dude, this Miami team, D's up, man. They don't play. They don't care. And they're going to bring it. And I feel like it's been much more challenging, especially when Boston's not knocking down shots. They want to hit threes.
Something else I've noticed the last 2 games, crunch time. Seems like one team's super mentally tough and the other team isn't as much. I think when you look at the mistakes that Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown are making, the turnovers that they're making, the team depends on them to hang on to the ball. And then go to the other side. You go to Jimmy Butler, doesn't matter. He's going to knock down a shot, do what he needs to do, get to his spots. Gabe Vincent. Every guy seems like they're stepping up, ready to go. But Jimmy Butler is leading the way in crunch time.
Through the first 2 games, it's no doubt about it. Like, Boston looks rattled. Late in games, they look like the team that gets frazzled. Tatum had those 2 travels in game 1 and that turnover. Tonight, he had a couple. They had 4 turnovers in the fourth quarter that turned into 9 points for Miami. And it's just weird how it happens. Usually you see stuff like that where, okay, the other team's going on a run and we're on the road and we can't get it together because the crowd's involved. The moment's too much. But the moment feels like it's been too much on the home floor.
Yes. And that's weird.
It is very weird. And you expect it more from a team that hasn't been in this situation before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Boston's been there. They were in the NBA Finals last year. They played this team in the conference finals before. They've got legit experience in the playoffs now. You'd expect them to execute better. It's one thing to lose. It's another thing to make these type of mental mistakes you expect from young teams who have not done it before. And I feel like we've seen that a lot from an experienced team, which is, if you're a Boston fan, it's got to be extremely disappointing.
Yeah, and if you're Boston, now you're going to Miami and you're going to be on their home floor. And it's not like they have the best fans all throughout the year, but in the playoffs, I feel like people step up. People want to be there. So it should be a pretty good atmosphere, and it's just not going to be easier. So you look at what Joe Mazzulla did with all of his rotations, and you go, okay, what's the game plan? What do they need to do?
I think one is the adjustment we saw in the second half. That has to be the game, the starting lineup. Derek White needs to be in the starting lineup in place of Rob Williams right now, because there's no advantage to me to starting the 2 big lineup in this series, right? You look at what they're throwing out there with Bam and Kevin Love. I think I trust that Derek White out there can wreak havoc as another defender, more switchable. You're not totally concerned about Kevin Love. Just go out there, go smaller, and have more 3-point threats. Rob Williams is not that. And I'm not saying not to play him. I just don't think you need to play 2 bigs. So you need to pick one to start. Who are you going to start? It's probably going to be Al Horford.
Right.
Even though he can't make a shot. And that's the other thing. The shot making from Boston has been awful. Game 1, Morgan, 10 of 29 from 3. So they did a good job limiting their 3-point attempts. And then tonight, they finished 10 of 35. So a team that's been a good 3-point shooting team, that when they're rolling, getting out in transition, knocking down threes, they look unbeatable. When they're missing threes.
But you look at that and you go, okay, well then attack the basket. And look at what they were executing when they were in that pick and roll, right? Yeah. And that was with Robert Williams out there. And There's points being made when everyone wanted Derek White out there, obviously because mostly the switching, but very capable of hitting that outside shot. All these outside shots aren't falling. Okay, so do you just want everyone to be aggressive and take at the basket, or do you want to just shove Tatum, Brown in that pick and roll with Williams and get things going? When their ball movement is just like flowing, you know what I'm talking about for the Celtics. They don't even take a dribble. They just move the ball with the pass. It's their best offense. And it seems like at times the Heat switching back and forth from their zone, their matchup zone, man to man, and just being super engaged and aggressive has really screwed with the Celtics offense more than we're even giving them credit for. But at the same time,
they're guarding. That's the thing. Miami is guarding. They're rotating late in games. They're getting into you. They're playing.
Yeah.
They're handsy. They're communicating. They're locked in, man. And that's a team. That's a team. And this is when you look at the differences between Boston and Miami. Boston has a first-year head coach. They're still, he got thrown in there right before the season. Spoelstra has a program. Everybody knows their role.
So what do you want the Celtics? Again, I asked you this at the end of last podcast.
Part of it, Jaylen Brown's got to play better, right? They had a chance to win this game. You don't need some drastic change. It's take care of your shit, knock down a couple of shots. Horford's got to make a shot. Al Horford hasn't made a three in, I think, since Boston last year, or is it first in Boston?
That's messed up.
It's been a long time. So that's got to change.
Uh-huh.
And I would put Derek White in that starting lineup to mix things up.
Started that second half.
And number one thing,
what?
We don't talk to Jimmy Butler.
Ever. No. Well, especially if you're Grant Williams. If you want to be that spark, talk shit to someone else.